Hey you guys, Quiet This Music here, and today I'm going to be ranking every album I listened to last year. I only listened to 30 albums last year, so I don't really have a reason to do a best or worst list. Just one video talking about every album I heard from worst to best. The normies will say I listen to too much music, and the elitists will say I listen to too little music. 30 albums isn't a lot, but that's not all I listened to this year. I also listened to things that came out before 2023, but that doesn't count for this list. I'm thinking about doing another year-end list where I talk about my favorite music discoveries of last year. If you're interested in that, let me know. Anyways, let's rank them all. Number 30, Cracker Island by Gorillaz. This album is really boring and it felt like nothing happened when I listened to it. The only notable songs are the title track and Skinny Ape. I reviewed and reacted to Skinny Ape, and currently that's my most popular video for some reason. But to be honest, there's nothing special about that song now that it's been a few months. Cracker Island is good, but oh my god, is it obnoxiously catchy. That's all I gotta say for this album. Everything else sucks. Number 29, Ugly by Slowthai. Slowthai changed his sound way too much, creating this really strange feeling rock sound, or rock vibe rather. Rock is supposed to feel excited most of the time. Not all rock music is all super exciting, but that's what Slowthai is trying to do on this album. But what we get from it doesn't really accomplish anything exciting. Number 28, Red Moon and Venus by Kali Uchis. Why is the only song I remember being good from this album was Moonlight? Seriously, nothing slapped from this album besides that song. For some reason. Definitely a downgrade from what we got in Isolation. I know she released an album in Spanish that was released before Red Moon, but I don't count that release because I didn't listen to it. But yeah, Red Moon could have been better. Number 27, Desire, I Want to Turn Into You by Caroline Polachek, or Polachek, I don't know how to say her name. Yeah, I didn't really like this one either for some reason. I really wanted to like this one too. It has its songs, and I want to give it another chance, like every other album that came before this album on this list, but unfortunately it's near the bottom. Number 26, Barbie the Album by various artists. There were way better movie albums that I've heard compared to this one. Don't get me wrong, this thing has its songs, but most of them are duds. Pretty much all the artists I liked made good songs on this album, and all the artists I don't like or never heard of made bad songs on this album. Number 25, Why Does the Earth Give Us People to Love by Kara Jackson. This album was so close to being good, it's on the borderline of being good and okay, but it just doesn't make the landing. I kept seeing Melon talk about it and praise it, but to me it's just an okay singer-songwriter album. Number 24, Quaranta by Danny Brown. I only listened to this album once at the time of me writing this, so I don't really know where else to put it. My initial thoughts, I liked it, but I was disappointed. There just aren't enough tracks for an album that is a sequel to Triple X, and there weren't enough high energy bangers for an album that's a sequel to Triple X. Number 23, Life Is But a Dream by Avenged Sevenfold. This album marks a turning point in this video. Everything above this album is good or better. This album is getting too much hate in my opinion. A lot of the ideas on this album are good, and I honestly like hearing it when I'm in the mood for it. I feel like Melon Sands are just blindly hating on this album because Anthony Fantano rated this album as the worst album of the year. It's not that bad. Number 22, Retaliation by The Chisel. Shout out to Knock Loose's Brian Garris for introducing me to this cool ass punk band. This album doesn't really change up the punk rock formula. It's a really typical simple punk release, and it's good for that reason. Not everything has to be a cool genre fusion. Number 21, Ooh Rap Aya by George Clanton. This album is good, but it was disappointing compared to what we got on Slide. Slide honestly changed me as a person. Not really, I'm just saying that to sound cool. Ooh Rap Aya sounds like an inferior version of what we got on Slide. Still good, but less. Number 20, Pink Tape by Lil Uzi Vert. I reviewed this one, and damn does it have its moments. Its saving grace is that it's bloated and the good songs outnumbered the bad ones. If there were less songs, it probably wouldn't be this high. Number 19, Utopia by Travis Scott. Reviewing an album gives you a certain kind of appreciation you don't get from just listening to an album casually. I noticed that a lot with Utopia. Utopia is another solid album by Travis Scott that grew on me due to the many re-listens I did in prep for the review I made. Number 18, A New Tomorrow by Zulu. A kick-ass hardcore album. Such a unique take on hardcore music, because this album truly is a love letter to black culture. I've never heard a rock album that appreciates black culture as much as A New Tomorrow does, that represents black culture as much as New Tomorrow does. Number 17, Scarlet by Doja Cat. Doja Cat, pop rap. What could go wrong? A lot, but you get my point. Number 16, We Buy Diabetic Test Strips by Arm & Hammer. What a weird name. I only listened to this one once, just like Quaranta, but from what I can hear, it's quality music. I really like what I heard. Arm & Hammer doesn't change their formula that much, but they still consistently release good music. Number 15, Voyeur Dyer by Earl Sweatshirt and The Alchemist. Releasing this album as an NFT album originally was the biggest L of the year in hip-hop. They really got clowned for doing that, but ignoring that, this album is quality music. Number 14, 72 Seasons by Metallica. I really like this one. It's just Metallica being Metallica, specifically their sound before the Black Album, but just like Arm & Hammer, you don't need to change your formula in order to produce quality music. Number 13, Fanfare by Dorian Electra. Whenever I think of Fanfare, one of the songs from the album just starts playing into my head. It really is an infectious album. And that's all I have to say about it. Number 12, Notorious Dump Legends Volume 2 by Makhami and the God Fahim. I forgot I listened to this one because it came out like months ago. At first it was low on my list, then I re-listened to it and then I realized how good it was. I remembered how good it was. The album is another decent abstract hip-hop album by the Haitian king himself, Makhami. Number 11, Sex, Money, Drugs, SMD by Lucky. Lucky doesn't miss at all, dude. I don't get much lyrically from his music, but his beat selection is so stellar. You don't pay attention when you listen to Lucky. Just vibe out to the production and let the magic happen. Number CBD Reki Moonbeam by Negi Jemi. Did I say bean? I meant beam. This is a wonderful piece of electronic music, pop music, dance music, with some vaporwave leanings. It makes me feel so euphoric when I hear one of the songs from this album. 100% Electronica has really been making some good tunes lately. Number 9, Block Music by Wi-Fi God. Yeah, this joint is fire. Pun intended. Wi-Fi is growing as an artist and he's fixing some of his mixing problems he had in the past. I can't wait to hear more from him. Number 8, Faith is a Rock by Wiki, Mike, and The Alchemist. This album was a dream collab. Two New York rappers spitting over the beats of one of the most finest producers in hip-hop right now. One of the most finest producers in modern hip-hop. Hip-hop ain't dead. Loved it. Number 7, Everything Harmony by the Lemon Twigs. These guys really took it back to the 70s or 80s with this one. I don't know which decade in particular because I don't really listen to soft rock like that, but I might have to start listening to soft rock because this album was beautifully sung and beautifully produced and beautifully written. Number 6, Burning Desire by Mike. Mike made a comeback on this one. I wasn't big on Disco or Beware of the Monkey. They were just alright. Mike really figured out his mistakes on those projects and put together a great release. Number 5, Top 5 Territory. The Above by Code Orange. My favorite metal album of the year, hands down. There's some really great choruses and riffs on this one. It really makes me want to start listening to more metal music because that's a genre I don't really dabble in as much anymore. But yeah, it's a great album. Number 4, Girl with Fish by Feeble Little Horse. My favorite indie release of the year. I have to stress it. This album is amazing. Every song is good. There isn't any skips. They have really done their own take on indie weirdo music. Number 3, Guts by Olivia Rodrigo. This is my favorite pop album of the year, and I guess punk record too? I don't know. It's a phenomenal record with messages that are so simple a toddler could understand it, and it's accompanied by amazing production. To me, Olivia is the current queen of the pop world. No one can change my opinion on that. Number 2, Scaring the Hoes by Danny Brown and JPEG Mafia. Hip hop's finest album of 2023. This thing is goated and will be forever remembered as one of the biggest hip hop duo collab albums to ever be released. I saw Danny and Peggy live and they tore the venue up. I can't wait to see how the sequel of this album turns out. Alright, number 1 territory. Are you guys ready? It's 10,000 Gex by 100 Gex. Yeah. Calling this album my favorite pop album of the year wouldn't do it justice because the amount of genres they cover on this album is a lot. Pop, rock, rap, electronic, nu metal, ska, children's music. It can't be defined, and that's what I continue to love about 100 Gex. They truly do whatever they want and they're really good at doing that. I was looking at the track list of this album, and when I read the title of each song started playing in my head when I was reading the title. Rent free. Like, they just started playing in my head rent free. It's so memorable, and honestly, it's pretty close to being a 10 now that I've listened to it a few times. Well, that's the list. I wish you guys a happy new year. I didn't say that in my last video, so I'm doing it now. Cheers to a new year and to new great releases in 2024. It's been Quiet Does Music, out.